Hello and welcome back to the Second Messiah. On the last episode of the Second Messiah, Vithericus was moving south, following the Nile and entering the kingdom of Nobatia, where he encountered a full stack of enemy troops resisting him inside a town, so he had to lay siege there. Saphrax broke his siege of Rome in order to move north, then east and then south to go down to the southern parts of the Italian peninsula on some strange advice from a Roman defector. Vithericus started skirmishing with the enemy inside their town at Nobatia, using fire arrows to reduce their defences in an initial battle and then withdrawing. Saphrax pushed south and on the way destroyed the Western Roman separatists, basically annihilating threats to his own possible hegemony over Italia. But one major threat remains. In the rich city of Tarentum, Vettius Praetextatus still commands a full stack of troops. Back over in Nobatia, Vithericus made his attack, pushing his troops into a siege assault at night. We took extreme casualties, but we took the town, and the way to the source of the Nile is now clear. I don't know what their game is, to be perfectly honest. Seems strange that they would show up, start a bunch of chaos, and then flee from it. It is reasonable to assume that they're letting others have their fill further north so they can tuck into us down here. What they of course don't realise is that things are different here. Here we have thousands of troops eager to recapture their homelands and avenge their emperor. Thousands of troops who know that I am the only hope for Italia and will follow me as thralls until the job is done. They, and you as their leaders, are truly the last hope for us all, but a brightly burning hope. As for that Gothic stalker, Saphrax, there's something strange about him. I've had riders come in from all along his route, and none have heard of any attacks they've made on our towns. They have a purpose beyond the gurgling louts rampaging in Ravenna. There's something rather unthreatening but sinister about it. The only sure way to foil their plan, of course, is to kill their warriors and enslave their people for the reconstruction of our domain. With officers like yourself and the strength of our position, I think we are safe to begin planning the logistics of the slave pens already. Welcome back. We're in the aftermath of that battle with the Nobatians. Vithericus has cut them down, but with extreme losses to his own forces. Only a close victory. The entire enemy army is gone. We've lost a few units on our own side, and most of our units have taken damage. A couple of them still at full strength, actually, the ones that came in as reserves right at the end, pushing through the enemy. Others have taken extreme losses, though. But with a settlement defeated, we can take the money and we can run, we can get around them. For some reason it tells me about the Western Roman separatists being defeated at this point, and Silco, the enemy's commander, being killed. So I can now move on. Unfortunately, the settlement is on a river, which means I'm going to have to use all of my movement points to get across it, as we've seen in previous episodes, and that does mean I'm going to end up back in the zone of control of this town next time. I was checking what route to take. I can either move along the Nile itself or use the road, and it seems the road is a slight shortcut because it eventually links up with the Nile further down. So I'm going to head southeast from where I am now, crossing the river there using all my points, and next time I'll have to deal with getting rid of the town. Now the other thing to consider is that with all of these units really destroyed, I might as well merge them together because it's going to be easier to rehire new units than wait for them to regenerate to get the army back into condition. Plus, having a smaller army for a short period will increase the amount of money I have, so I might as well merge some of these squads together just to make sure my army looks healthy at the very least and to save some cash. Some good news, the agent that was harassing Saphrax has been wounded. We get a mission to be at war with the Western Roman separatists who we recently destroyed, so I guess a new separatist faction has appeared, but I couldn't see it anywhere nearby. I was looking for it here in the diplomacy list, but it wasn't there, so it must be in some undiscovered location. It could even be in Spain. You can see here in the north of Italia, we've got real chaos, a mishmash of factions everywhere, and the Huns besieging the Western Roman Empire's capital at Mediolanum. So it looks like northern Italia is pretty much done for. Everyone's just taking everything they can up there. But back down here in the south, the Empire lives on and is stable. We've got some nice rich towns, including Tarentum, guarded by the 1st Legion. Saphrax wants to take that town. I had the other option of taking Regium as well, also quite valuable, so I could sack it for a bit of money, but I want to leave it alive because at some point I want to make that town part of my own domain. So Saphrax moves up to begin a siege at Tarentum, challenging the First Legion inside, led by their general Vettius Praetexitus with a massive army, plus of course he has the garrison and a small fleet backing him up. I'm going to start building the siege equipment I need to make an attack. The enemy does have a small advantage on the balance bar, so the AI may wish to fight me in a regular battle, but if they don't, I'm going to have to wait a long time to prepare the siege equipment I'll need for this battle, because the enemy are going to have lots of troops to defend their position from. I can also just maintain the siege to slowly reduce their defences to make my attack more smooth. Now back down with Saphrax. As I said, I'm going to have to re-attack the Nabatean capital. A few men appear to defend it, including a 2-star general who appeared out of nowhere, the enemy's faction leader, so I'll just wipe them out. I use a protective stance to get rid of them. Unfortunately for me, this causes one of the units to be destroyed. I had about 30 men before, so I was surprised it was wiped out, but of course I can hire it again. I can sack a tiny bit of money to help cover the cost of that hiring, and now we can make our escape. Basically, we're just going to follow this long and empty road. I don't really envision myself encountering any resistance as I move this way. The Nabateans won't have any more forces, and we're not at war with the next kingdom down, the next African kingdom, so it's unlikely they'll stop us unless they don't like us trespassing through their land, which we will have to do. On the way, I'll be encamping and recruiting more units to get my force back up to full strength, although probably not going to need those troops. Amalric, my scout, can move forward and can locate now the source of the Nile. It looks like I'm just a couple of turns from reaching my destination there, so that's very interesting. Now moving into the next turn, the Western Roman Empire indeed think they can take their chances in a field battle with Saphrax. The enemy are going to be backed up by their garrison forces and garrison fleet, meaning they'll be slightly stronger than a regular field battle. I could of course retreat and try and tempt the enemy to come and fight me in a battle away from Tarentum, where they won't have those forces backing them up. But looking at the map, I saw there was a nice piece of terrain on the front of my deployment zone, a nice wooded hill that I can use to defend against the enemy's advance. So given this, I think this is as good a chance as any to take out the enemy, so I'm going to fight the battle. No man of our kin was ever meant to tread here. The deserts are not a fine place to live, that much is clear. But I can feel it. We're getting close. Soon I will meet the second Messiah, the scion of the all-powerful, and then, well, the desert will turn into a lush new kingdom at my whim, the beginning of a new world, free from the endless wars for power, as all will submit to the one undisputed power of the Lord. And I, along with God's Son, will deliver this new world from the dark and evil forces that haunt all true noble people. I can't stop thinking about it. I'll have to get Geilam here to take care of our people's matters from now on. I have so much to plan. You can see I started the battle deployed on this forested hill. The hill itself isn't particularly big, but it's offering good cover to my troops. Most of my army is hidden here in the centre. Unfortunately, the unit stats are stuck on the left. Couldn't get rid of them for some reason, so we'll have to have them for this battle. The Roman army is advancing right towards my position with their skirmishers in front and their heavy infantry following and shock infantry at the back. I think they could actually see a couple of my units. The units on the far right of my formation were exposed, causing the enemy to come towards my forested position, which is great because I want them to actually move in close and then basically get ambushed as my troops charge out of the forest with a heavy first attack. Now I've also got a large reserve positioned behind this ridge so that even after I make my attack, the enemy won't necessarily know about these troops I've got back here, including my skirmish troops and some more shock troops, the Gothic warriors who can charge the enemy's flanks. I've got cavalry doing the same thing on my right flank, so I've got a big hidden reserve for this battle. So the enemy move up, they start charging their cavalry out, and about this time they discover my main line, which I'm also moving forwards now. The cavalry have second thoughts about making their attack, but some of them are actually skirmish cav who can just cycle around, throwing javelins at me with impunity. I can try and use my archers to fire back at them, but it's not going to do all that much. Mainly I'm just going to actually make an advance and push the enemy back. So my heavy infantry charge into the enemy's infantry here is just these steppe levy troops, guys who definitely can't resist the attack by my Gothic warriors, who are far superior man to man and will cut through them very quickly. Their heavier troops and their axemen will have a better time against my men, who are more evenly matched, but I think I still have the advantage. I'm fighting a little bit downhill, and in some places I've got the enemy outflanked, though here on the right the enemy are slightly surrounding me. Luckily the enemy's troops aren't particularly good, and immediately I've broken one unit here, so I'll be able to start counter-surrounding the enemy as the enemy's lighter spears are annihilated by the Gothic warriors. Their general, Protextus himself, starts to come up towards the left to reinforce the failing point where the levies are now falling back. He's being bombarded by my skirmishers who have come over the ridge to attack him, and he's going to come into this battle just as his men are leaving, so my troops are free to receive him. He couldn't get any sort of flanking attack. His troops are okay, and you can see they managed to immediately kill some of my troops. My guys are going to be tired, but the enemy's stats aren't all that high, so once they get tired as well, my guys will have the advantage. A cavalry battle took place on the right flank. Not much happened really, my forces just went in, engaged with the enemy for a while and eventually defeated them just because my cavalry were a little bit better. The enemy have reinforcements being landed by sea, who, as you can see here, are just coming on. They've got a nice flanking position. They can charge onto a strategic flank on the battle, but it's a long way, and their comrades already in combat may not survive until they arrive. So it's becoming a slug match here in the centre. The enemy's heavy spears going up against my swordsmen. My guys have the advantage over time. Even though I'm taking casualties, the enemy are going to take more casualties than me. So parts of the enemy's line are going to break up. Protextus himself has lost most of his guards. He's still fighting on in here somewhere. You can see him actually with the red cloak there, fighting on the front line. And his guys decide that it's probably going to be time to get out of there pretty soon. And Protextus himself is basically just overrun as suddenly his unit routs and a stampede of everyone attacks him from every direction, including Saphrax himself, destroying his unit. So now the enemy are in trouble. I'm using these skirmishers to draw their missile fire because they're out of ammunition, so just allowing the enemy skirmishers to throw at my loosely formed units, thus stopping them from throwing into the more tightly packed heavy units actually fighting in melee. Just a few enemy units left fighting in melee now, and I'm able to surround them because my large number of small units have a nice maneuverability to get around all of these thickly formed up Roman formations. So that's pretty much the end of the enemy's main line. You can see some of them now retreating off the field. I think they had some Germanic or Gothic pikes there being sent off. And we've pretty much finished that part of the battle, but the battle isn't over, so I'm going to start reforming my troops. As I do, the enemy's skirmishers are going to be chased off by my archers. My archers actually proved quite useful in this battle because there was a lot of prolonged fighting and prolonged chances to hit the enemy at range. So we've got rid of them, but the enemy's reinforcements coming from the city and the reinforcements from the boats are now going to come up and engage in battle. Obviously too late because the main part of the battle is already over, the balance bar is now in my favour, but we still have to get rid of them. First I'm using this cavalry unit to chase down these marine archers who have just run basically across the front of my line. I think they're coming to join their reinforcements from the city, but they're not going to make it unfortunately for them. The cavalry will just cut them down. So that was another easy victory. They do have more archers nearby and more actual melee troops, so I'm going to get them out of there pretty sharply and move them back towards our formation. What I can basically do at this point is wait for the enemy to walk towards me. I'm going to sit on my hill. The enemy have pretty much no way of effectively attacking me, so I'm pretty safe, but they're still going to try, moving up with heavy infantry. Here you can see for some reason they've got their comitatensis spears in a defensive testudo formation, so they obviously expect to be hit by arrows, and perhaps they're right, because I am going to start moving up my archers here. At the moment I'm just using them to duel with the enemy's archers. They've got one squad of archers in a position to actually fire back, so they still may inflict casualties upon me. But I've got 3 teams of archers who are going to shower arrows upon the enemy, and the enemy's morale's already low, so I don't even have to kill very many of them to defeat the entire unit. And there they go, a couple of volleys, and they run off. I think they may have killed a couple of my troops, but nothing significant. So now it's just the enemy's heavy infantry there. The heavy infantry shouldn't be too hard to kill, so I decided to send the archers forward to do it themselves and equip them with fire arrows. Fire arrows reduce the morale of enemy units when they impact, even if they don't actually kill any of them. So as the enemy advance, they're going to be bombarded by fire arrows. It wasn't quite enough to get rid of them. You can see these medium infantry are currently wavering, but not quite going. They're all going to loosen up to lessen the effect of the archer fire, but it's not going to be enough to actually allow them to get closer without taking serious damage, because I have loads of archers there firing from multiple angles. Plus, when they get close, a lot of my Gothic warbands still have their javelins left, so I'm going to be able to do heavy damage if they get close enough for the javelins to actually be able to throw. The enemy do start moving their heavy infantry to make an attack on my right flank, but really they're not going to be able to do anything. This is a last-ditch attempt by the defenders of the city. They've already lost this battle. The medium infantry fall back before even reaching the line. Even if they did reach the line, it wouldn't have been terribly dangerous because my Gothic warriors probably would have just routed them immediately. The heavy infantry refuse to leave, not seeing that this battle is lost, still being bombarded by fire arrows into their flank. The actual archery fire is not really doing any damage to them because the archers are just so weak as a unit, their stats aren't very high. But the enemy is going to suffer a morale penalty. You can see some of my guys start to throw javelins there. The enemy actually got a volley of javelins into my archers from their legio here, but they themselves were then hit by return javelin fire. They get out of there. It causes a mass rout. The enemy's remaining infantry are gone. That was the last Roman army in Italia effectively wiped out. Praetextus is dead. The vast majority of his troops are dead. Some of the garrison of the town is dead as well. I'm going to pursue them using the fire arrows, but not properly, probably because my troops are just too tired to catch them at this point. I don't even need to pursue them. It's a heroic victory for Saphrax's forces. The siege of Tarentum is now guaranteed to eventually go in our favour. The enemy didn't have enough troops surviving for another battle. It seems things are set for Saphrax to get his land in Italia after all.
We gave him everything, but all he gave back is despair. All the city's best men are dead. The leaders fight over who will get the next ferry to Africa. My beautiful city is left to be devoured like the rest of the world, slowly but inevitably. Destroyed brick by brick, man by man, until the devil's work is over. Not even enough wine left to help me forget it all. Well, we may as well get the work of our enemy over with. Better to face death than to count the moments until it arrives. Gather up the rest of the slaves. I won't leave them completely empty-handed, but leave them I shall.
So let's take a brief look at the results from that battle. A heroic victory for Saphrax. The enemy's army not entirely wiped out, but effectively made useless. Many of the reinforcing units actually survived with a lot of their troops, but it's not going to be enough to resist the surviving Gothic troops. I'm going to take on warriors, so there will be even more of those troops. And now the Romans are going to take their remaining forces and just flee. They run away. We didn't have a naval siege, so they're free to do that, making Tarentum even weaker. There's some confirmation that Praetextus has been killed, a little bit late there. And now we get a matter of state. The fighting is occurring. This is a chance for Vithericus to fight in combat. I need to bring up the faction panel to have a quick look there. You can see Tarentum is in massive trouble. The Gothic army looking very healthy, Tarentum looking unhealthy. So the event itself gives me a couple of options. I can basically get someone else to fight for me, not fight at all, or fight myself, or Vithericus fights I should say, and he's going to do that. Vithericus is a fighter known for his fighting ability, so he's going to have a go. You can see the Italians are now besieging Rome. It appears that this basically Rome separatist faction is going to take back the Holy City, or at least that's what it seems that they want to do. We'll see. So we're just going to let these sieges go on. I need to build some siege equipment to get into Tarentum, so that I will do. And meanwhile, Vithericus is going to start his journey going off-road, essentially. He can move a little bit along the road, but now the route towards the source of the Nile goes into uncharted territory. Probably not going to see many people as he walks up the last remaining part of the Nile, sticking to this small grassed area on the campaign map, which doesn't give him attrition. If he walks into the desert, all of his troops will immediately start to perish. So it looks like he's now just one turn away from reaching his destination. I can make sure he gets there next time by doing a bit of a forced march this time to get even closer. Amalric is going to now move east to have a little look at the nearest major settlement. You can see there's a massive city here, and it has a massive army inside it. So if they decide to declare war on us, that would be a little bit of an issue, and we are trespassing in their territory, but so far they don't seem to mind. Moving to the next turn, it seems that Saphrax having some issues with spies, and we learn that the flighting has been successful. Vithericus ended up winning the tournament, has gained influence, and has somehow gained Smooth Talker as an ability. So I guess all that swordplay has improved his ability to speak in some way. But the main upshot is that his influence over his people has increased as a result of his bravery. So those sieges in Italia continue on, whilst Vithericus is going to make the final leg of his journey, moving up to the source of the Nile, where now he's got a little bit of a search for himself. The second Messiah is supposedly around here somewhere, out here in the desert in the middle of nowhere, with of course only a small amount of water since we're right back at the source. His people are going to have to try and survive while he makes his search, and who knows how long it's going to take. This is the city that can give us a home. But we came here to start a new life, safe from the Huns, safe from the chaos. And this city will be their next target. What does Vithericus see in this place? So many of the people want to keep running, going further west or further south, or even just go home. But what if there is no escape from our fate? What if the king was right? He's out there, waiting for me. The source must be so close, just over that horizon. We'll march through the night. God's Son will soon welcome us. The king, as of now, has gone a season barely seeing anyone. He sits at the source, drinking the strange coloured water, walking the desert at night, calling out for the Lord. We're getting by without him. Guylemir has the camp under control, but the summer heat will not treat us well. I know drunk, and Chief Saphrax ain't it. His poison is the mouth of Vithericus, but it ain't just the mouth either. We're sitting here while the coffers of Rome are plundered and the Huns stream into Italy, waiting to make this place our new land. I hope everyone likes eating dirt and blood. This place is doomed. We weren't too late. We weren't too late. The second Messiah was here from the beginning. He's still here, somewhere. Answer me, Lord. Where is your son? Where is my Messiah? Why did you bring me here? Here? Why no one else? It doesn't matter what could be, because it won't be. There is no running, not anymore. Someone has to make a stand. Someone has to save this world. That is what the king wanted, our king. And maybe he found that salvation. Now it's our turn to earn the right to cultivate this land by protecting it from destruction. We will end the madness that a new empire We will triumph against this darkness. Are you okay, my lord? Who's there? Is it you, Lord? Yes, I can hear you, O Lord. Please give me your commands. Yes, of course, at once. Where is my horse? I must go. I will not fail you, my lord. Your will shall be mine with all my breath and blood. You shall have your new world. I shall be your Messiah. I don't care what it takes. This is the only way to save our people. The Ostrogothic domain begins and Vithericus reveals God's plan to save the world next time on The Second Messiah.